Y'all ready? Toast to the morning work crowd. Here we go. Boom. Let me get a little swig of water. All right. Teachers, enjoy your summer. It will be short-lived. And let's remember our police officers and our military personnel. As you can see, I have another one of my new shirts on that says, "I stand with Israel." That might get me scuffed up somewhere today. The way this world is. Israel has just entered into the next phase, not just of fighting Hamas on the Western Front, but now they just entered into a second phase of fighting Hezbollah from the north. They killed 4 top-notch head of the snake leaders for Hezbollah commanders yesterday that were having a military meeting, and they killed them. So I think so far Hezbollah has probably shot a couple hundred rockets into into Israel, and Israel has amassed a couple of divisions ready to march into Lebanon, and so it's getting ready to get crunk, as they say, over there on the northern front now. So, and then they have some terrorist fighting from time to time in the West Bank, which is the West Bank of the Jordan, but it's on the east side of Israel. So they have, and then Yemen every now and then wants to float a bomb in from the south. So they're fighting from all 4 directions at various times, but especially from the west and the north at this time. So y'all pray for Israel and the salvation of the Jews and the removal of our leadership in this country that are wanting to cut the limb off that we've run them out on there. Our president and his cabinet is trying to overthrow the leadership of Israel, trying to do a recall vote, get Netanyahu out and put their man in, and declare peace with Hamas. And somebody needs to just whip him with a broom handle. And his wife. Y'all know how I feel about that. Nevertheless, let's move on. John chapter 16, verse 31. Verse 31. Jesus answered them, "Do you now believe? Indeed, the hour is coming, yes, and has now come, that you will be scattered, each to his own, and will leave me alone. And yet I am not alone, because the Father is with me. These things I have spoken to you, that in me you may have peace. In the world you will have tribulation, but be of good cheer. I have overcome the world." So here Jesus is getting ready to go to the cross. He's on the brink of his crucifixion, and he's telling them this is the Last Supper, and he's telling them that when the event goes down, when he is betrayed in the garden, and Judas and the mob comes up, they're going to be scattered. And Jesus said, "You're going to leave me alone, but I'm not alone. I'm not alone, and because my Father is with me." And he said, "And I'm telling you these things that in me you may have peace, and your relationship with me may bring you peace. In the world, that is, in the world without me, you're going to have tribulation, but be of good cheer. I've overcome the world." So in the midst of tribulation, we have Jesus with us. God with him was a tremendous comforting factor for Jesus. A tremendous comforting factor for Jesus. He said, "Every one of you are going to leave me alone, but I'm not alone." And that is true for you and I. We are not alone, regardless of what we're facing. I'm going to tell you a story. Last night we were at Band of Brothers, and we were introduced to this guy. His name was Jody Richardson. Now, he's from North Louisiana. His family was farmers, but he decided he didn't want to go into farming. They were generational farmers. So he goes to college, can't decide what he wants to do, sees a recruiting poster for the Navy, and sees a jet taking off a boat, I think, an aircraft carrier or something. He said, "That looks like fun." He signs up, and he gets into flight school, goes through officers training, goes to flight school, and becomes a jet pilot in the Navy and retired after 30 years. Went in 79, retired in '09. And one of he flew A4s and F-14s. And so on one of his, I don't know what he was doing, assignments or whatever, he and another guy, they were flying together. It'd be a F-14. And they had a fire on board. And they had to eject. The problem is that they're over the ocean, 1,000 miles from land. Okay, so they eject, and they both live. They hit the water, and so he said at that time we had about 15-foot seas. Now, do y'all understand what that is? I know the people that were in the Navy, like Jim Pennington, they understand that. So when you hit, you don't. It's just you and the water. You can't see over the waves anywhere. His other co-pilot that was with him, he ejected. He was hurt. I think he dislocated his shoulder. They both had some bruises, some scratches, some cuts, but they were intact. They were able to communicate that they were having to eject and bail. They hit the water, and he said, I don't know how far away from me he was, but we were not too far away, yet we were an eternity away because we can't see anything, we can't hear anything. So, but they, of course, they've got the gear that they bail out with, and they've got a little one-man inflatable raft that's in the seat of their, that's strapped to them, and he got that out and got in it. He had a radio, some chewing, survival pack stuff. So he has a radio. He's able to call for some help. And he said, as soon as I hit the water, he said, I thought to myself, okay, Lord, he said, and I said it out loud, okay, Lord, it's just you and me. And so he said, let me tell you something that's very humbling. Be in the middle of the ocean 1,000 miles from anything. And you can't see anything. You don't know anything beyond that you're floating in the ocean. Okay, and he said, that's humbling. And he said it was just him and God. And the whole message, they did get rescued. 2 of the rescue swimmers that came to get him, they bailed out, and one of them died. They don't know what happened to him. Eventually, his chute that he didn't get rid of filled up with water and took him to the bottom of the ocean. The other guys that he flew with was rescued. He was rescued 18 hours later. He was 18 hours floating in the open sea. So it was a pretty good story. But the thesis of the story was that, we are all going to face moments. Some of these situations in life are handed to us, right? Your father dies, you got to take care of your mother. Your husband dies, you got to take care of your children. Sometimes, cancer, death of a child, fired from a job, so forth and so on. And so we face those kind of things. And then we face persecution for being followers of Christ. You lose your job, be ostracized, not get the promotion, so forth and so on. Much like Israel today. Israel is hated by the world because there's an enemy from the beginning that has hated Israel. Now think about this. Ask yourself this question. Why does the rest of the world hate Israel? And it becoming increasingly more so. Think about that. It's a spiritual answer. So the point is that many Jews now, okay, they're having trial and tribulation. They are going back to their homeland. The Jews from other countries are going back home more so than ever. But my point is this. Sometimes hard happens to us because we were stupid. Sometimes hard happens to us because it was handed to us. And then sometimes hard is handed to us because people purposely set out and maliciously set out to persecute us. In some instances, prosecute us, and even other instances, execute us. Okay? Those things happen. And they're happening now to people going through divorces and such things that we've already mentioned. But here's what you and I have to remember, okay? We are not alone. We are never alone. Jesus goes on to tell us that he will never leave us nor forsake us. He's never going to walk off. He's never going to leave you hanging. You're never going to wake up, okay, or go to bed that Jesus is not there. There's not a situation that you can find yourself in, to include right here, right now, that Jesus is not with you. Jesus said we will come to him, he and his Father. We will come to him and we will make our home with him. I will manifest myself to him. That was all part of this teaching in the upper room. And he said the reason he was telling his disciples this was so that in him they could have peace. So the presence of the Prince of Peace is the peace that we possess in the midst of our ejecting out over the ocean. The peace that we have in the operating room, the peace that we have in the funeral home, the peace that we have in the courtroom, the peace we have in the home that's where we find ourselves living alone in. Jesus said, I've told you these things that in me, you can have peace because I'm with you always. And to be with us doesn't mean I'm just sitting here watching it all happen. Of course, he's watching things happen. But he's redeeming it. He's working it for our good. That's the other promise. He's with us, and whatever's happening, he's going to use it for our good. He's going to use it to make us stronger. He's going to use it to make us more mature, that we're going to develop character, perseverance, endurance, that we're going to go through some stuff. But it's going to make us, for lack of a better phrase, it's going to make us tougher in the spirit, stronger in the spirit. And so we need to comfort one another with these words. We need to remind people, hey man, you're not alone. Which, by the way, reminds me, did any of you get to encourage someone yesterday? Did any of you get to come by and do good for someone yesterday? I had an opportunity to do that. I was asked about that yesterday. I was able to share it. So let's be intentional with doing good and encouraging. And then reminding ourselves and reminding our fellow believers, okay, that God is with us. God is with us. He's managing your crisis. He's managing your life. You're planning your way. He's ordering your steps. I posted a Facebook post the other day that says, my job is to believe that God can do his job. Okay? You got to believe. We have to believe that God is with us and he can do his job. And he took the responsibility of seeing after us, keeping us. And our job is to believe that he can do it and that he is doing it, even when it doesn't look like it or feel like it. He's large and in charge. So comfort one another with these words. Jody Richardson, he resides with his wife in Aliceville, Alabama. And you ought to look him up or get in contact with him and let him tell you some stories. We'll see you tomorrow. Good Lord willing, and the saints don't rise. Peace out.